Okay, so I've got some words of encouragement for a 440 pounder. And this actually comes from a recommendation from one of my Facebook followers. His name is Cole, and he was just asking me if I could shoot a video to share some words of wisdom for a friend of his, actually, who's actually apparently a big YouTuber. His name is Wings of Redemption on YouTube. And he's just starting to kind of transform his life. So he's currently at 440 pounds, and he just started doing boot camps at a friend's house to start losing weight. So Cole wants me to basically make a video or answer just, not even just a video, but just kind of answer his proposal on Facebook to give him some words of encouragement to his friend. So I thought that'd be really cool just to create a video on this, because I think a lot of people watching this could benefit from this. So even if you're not 440 pounds, you can benefit from what I'm about to say. So here's what I've realized in my short period of time on this planet. The human body is very fragile, but it's also very resilient. So and a lot of times we take that for granted because we don't realize, we're more motivated by pain than we are by pleasure. So we tend to let things get way out of control before we start making change. So somebody who's 440 pounds has hit that point where they're like, holy crap, this needs to stop. Somebody who's at 200 pounds might experience that as well. It's all depending on where your kind of thermostat is set. But the key is that most of us don't take action until there's a significant amount of pain that causes us to do so. Okay, if you tell somebody who's 440 pounds, well, you could look like, you could have six-pack abs and attract all these girls and whatever, that might not appeal to them. But if you tell them, listen, you're 440 pounds, you're 5 days away from death, if you die, your kids are going to be without a father, you're really kind of instilling that pain in them, there's going to be a little more motivation there, okay? So in your life, if you're having a tough time finding the motivation to change, you need to get very uncomfortable with something. You need to get to a point where you are so sick and tired of whatever it is. There needs to be a certain, like with smoking, friends, I'm just going to use smoking as an example. If my kids were ever to smoke, and if they ever watch this 20 years down the road, if my kids were to smoke, one of the best ways to get them from smoking in the future is to sit down with them and force feed them every single possible cigarette in that pack and then some, to the point where they physically become ill, so they never even want to see a cigarette ever again. That's called aversion. And that's essentially what you have to do. And obviously that's a very radical approach, but in terms of creating lasting change, you have to get to a point where you create such a degree of aversion and pain to something, you never want to do it again. If you're addicted to chocolate or sugar, well, here's an idea. Why don't you sit down with an entire cake and eat that entire cake to the point where you feel like throwing up, and even better, throw up. And yes, again, this is a very unconventional recommendation, and I don't want you to do this without, properly thinking about this, or even, talking about this with your doctor, who would say that you're crazy in the first place for considering this. But here's the thing. If you get to the point where you physically are ill from eating that specific food, I guarantee you will never want to eat it again, or at least not for a very long time. This is what happened with me with tequila. When I was 22, I went to Acapulco with a friend of mine on spring break, and I had so much tequila. This is before I was, doing what I do now, so I didn't really know the difference or any better. I drank so much on my first night there. I was smashed. I was so out of it that the next day, the second day out of a 7-day trip, I didn't even want to smell alcohol. Unfortunately, by the evening, I was feeling a little bit better, and I got out of control a little bit again. But nonetheless, to this day, I cannot even drink tequila. And even if I do in the form of a margarita, it conjures up crazy reactions in my body. Okay, so that is the power of aversion. Now, so I don't know if I'm kind of getting off track here like I normally do, but just to give some words of encouragement to those of you who are having a tough time or are starting and need some inspiration or encouragement, I want you to understand that you can change. You can change absolutely 360 degrees or 180, however you want to think about it, if you put in the work and focus. And if you're 440 pounds, the cool news is that you might lose 20 pounds in a week. You have so much weight on your body. Just by walking up a flight of stairs, you are doing so much work, and your body is going to be burning so many more calories than somebody who is 1/4 your size. So the good news is that the heavier you are, you're going to lose more weight in a very short period of time. And then as you get thinner and thinner and fitter and fitter, you're going to have to put in more work to achieve smaller gains. This is the law of diminishing returns, right? So for me, I weigh 165 pounds. If I wanted to lose 20 pounds, which I don't, I would have to work very hard in order to do that. I'm about 8% body fat. If I wanted to get to 6% body fat, I would have to work very hard in the gym as well as with my diet in order to get down there. However, if I were 400 pounds and 40% body fat, I would literally just have to walk upstairs every day, 5-10 minutes. I would burn a significant amount of calories and reduce my body fat pretty substantially in a very short amount of time, okay? So I want you to think about that. If you're very out of shape, out of overweight, you will find you will make big changes, big progress in a small amount of time. The fitter you get, you're gonna have to put in more work to get smaller changes. I just wanna let you know that that's kind of how things work. But nonetheless, you can change no matter where you are, whether you've got type 2 diabetes, whether you're 400 pounds, 40% body fat, whether you've got heart disease. All of this stuff can be not only prevented, obviously, but completely reversed through lifestyle. And that's what I'm here to share with you, is that you don't need to rely on the ridiculous recommendations from the medical community saying that, oh, your genetics is going to determine your outcome, or you have to take this medication for the rest of your life, because you don't. Right? Obviously, there's certain situations where you have to verify with your doctor based on your circumstance, but in most cases, you can rapidly and substantially and sustainably improve your conditions through diet, exercise, and mindset. Okay, the trick is that obviously it's a little bit more work than taking a pill, so you need to be very committed, you have to be very focused, but you can do it. The final thing I want to say on this is that you have to be somebody who sets goals. You have to be a goal setter, and you have to see yourself as a new person. You literally have to create a new identity for yourself. The reason this is important, okay, is if you're 440 pounds, the way you see yourself is very different than an Olympic athlete, okay? You will do different things, you will eat different things, you will think different thoughts than somebody who's an Olympic athlete, okay? An Olympic athlete, even though the Olympics is sponsored by McDonald's, an Olympic athlete probably and shouldn't eat at McDonald's. And they know that because they see themselves differently. They see themselves as a high-performance machine. Somebody who's 440 pounds doesn't necessarily have that same self-identity. So with whoever's watching this, if you're any kind of change you want to make, you have to set the goal of what it is that you want to achieve. That's the first thing. The next, you have to be able to look at who, not necessarily what do I have to do, but who do I have to become for this to happen, okay? Who is the type of person I need to become, right? It's the triad, the be, do, have. Who do I need to be? What do I need to do to have the results I want, okay? It's not about what do I have to have in order to do the stuff and then be the person I want to be. It's like a lot of people think about when I have enough money, I will be happy. It's not like that, okay? So it's about who do you have to be as an individual in order to have the outcome you want. So this requires a lot of work introspectively to work on yourself, and that's why things like Landmark Forum or even Tony Robbins events or any of this kind of personal development stuff is awesome, because it helps you shed all those limiting negative beliefs and helps you get down to the core of who you are and who you want to become. So I know I could talk about this forever, so I'm going to shut her down right now. But Cole, I hope that gives your friends some inspiration, some words of encouragement. I want you to let him know, or if he's watching this, let him know that he can achieve whatever he wants. If he wants to become 800 pounds, he can continue doing what he's doing and he can achieve that. If he wants to get down to 160 or 200, he can do that as well. It's just different sets of actions, different identities, and there we go. So hopefully that helps you guys out. And if you guys have any other questions or need some more inspiration, join me on Facebook. You know where to go, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.